So,
I'm
David Benioff and Dan Weiss, they finally revealed what their Star Wars was going to be about. Guess it says it's right there on the screen. It was going to be the first Jedi. I've heard that before.
Multiple times from multiple different people that were supposed to be doing this idea.
I've heard this. I've heard this a few times. What's going on?
Yeah.
Looks like Lucasfilm are creatively bankrupt and just keep trying to go back to the same idea of the bloody origin of the Jedi, origin of the first lightsaber. I mean, what is this? This is what James Mangold's going to be doing, apparently.
Yeah.
You know
What
why?
is this?
Well, I can explain exactly why. This is Kathleen Kennedy, or no, not Kathleen Kennedy, but it's her nearly all female story group that's going to be like, you know what, it would be cool if we could do like a movie that explores the beginning of the Jedi. And here are some thoughts that we have on it. Let's call in a few people that are hot right now, because Kathleen Kennedy only wants people who are hot right now in this moment, because they had a big win in the last few weeks. So those are the people who are called in. And they're told, hey, we're interested in doing something with the beginning of the Jedi. What's your take? And then Benioff and Weiss are going to be able to say something stupid. Then they're not really going to listen. They're just going to be like, well, they're hot right now for Game of Thrones. So let's just do this. Let's sign them up. And let's do a whole trilogy about this idea, because I think we have enough here that we can do a trilogy. Oh, what happens?
Yeah.
Oh, they're not hot anymore. Now let's cancel that, and now let's take our pitch and our story or our story to other people and have them do it instead. And that's
Pretty
how
much.
down to James Mangold, who's doing the exact same thing.
Pretty much. Well, it's comical anyway, because it is something which Hollywood Reporter even notes in this. So basically, David Benioff, Dan Weiss. God damn it! What's this thing doing? They opened up about their Star Wars movie in the Hollywood Reporter's cover story because they're promoting Three Body Problems, a new Netflix sci-fi epic. So they spoke about that, and then they also spoke about the Star Wars. So in terms of Star Wars, the duo. What is my mouse doing? The duo confirmed media reports from 2019 that they were looking at the early days of the Jedi, but added some details. We wanted to do the first Jedi. Basically, how the Jedi Order came to be, why it came to be, the first lightsaber. We've heard this. And and listen to this. This is peak creative, guys. Peak creative. And we're annoyed as hell when Rian Johnson called his movie The Last Jedi. He completely destroyed the obvious title for what we were working on. So it's going to be called Star Wars The First Jedi.
How does that ruin anything? I mean, that's perfect synergy right there.
Yeah, The Last Jedi,
awful.
and then you come out with something, The First Jedi.
The First Jedi. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, this is why you call them Dumb and Dumber. They didn't. That wasn't ruining anything.
Sorry. No, I've got to interject. What? That's a terrible name. Why are you saying that's perfect? That's awful. It's creative bankruptcy.
Oh, I'm not saying that it's a good name. I'm saying that there's synergy between the two. I mean, if you want to go with the First Jedi and the Last Jedi, then that makes sense. Now, that doesn't mean that you should go with that naming convention at all. But if you're going to do one, if you've already done one, that in no shape or form does that ruin the other. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying any other title, but they already did The Last Jedi, obviously, because already then they had plans of setting up the First Jedi. Probably had the title in mind as well. I mean, Benioff and Weiss probably thought it was their title, and it wasn't. It was the story group's title.
Yeah, so they were asked what went wrong, and here's where they just lie, because obviously it's because Game of Thrones bombed, but whatever. Lucasfilm ended up not wanting to do a First Jedi story. That's clearly not true. We had a very specific story.
Yeah, that's. Sorry, I didn't mean to drop it. Until they wanted to do it again with James Mangold.
We had a very specific story in mind, and ultimately they decided they didn't want to do that, and we totally get it. It's their company and their IP, but we weren't the droids they were looking for. And even Hollywood Reporter notes, last year Lucasfilm announced the movie titled Dawn of the Jedi from James Mangold because the concept still might happen. This sounds lame. Go on, Nick. I want your thoughts. Come on. Rant.
Uh
Why haven't we
D&D.
uploaded Culture? We haven't uploaded Boom cancelled. Come on now. That needed to be up there.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I sent it to both of you guys.
I'm sorry. I quit.
But yeah, if you had that, I would tell you to hit it right now. Boom, canceled. Because this idea has been going around for so long. It's like, they're determined to make this first Jedi movie. They're determined to get somebody to come in and work on this piece of crap. D&D was working on it. They rushed through the final season of Game of Thrones to try to hurry and get it wrapped up so they could go do their Star Wars thing. But then the Star Wars thing didn't even happen. So they got the Netflix thing. And I mean, I don't know what they're doing over there at Netflix.
But nothing's come of that
heard.
either. I mean, they've developed like some, I don't know, like some southern states thing, something, I don't know, the Confederacy or something like that, and nothing came of it.
Yeah, it's not anything big or anything. I mean, it's almost like these two clowns are like turning into has-beens or something.
Massive has-beens within Hollywood. Huge
Yeah.
has-beens.
Because the way that final season of Game of Thrones ended, oh man, people were so pissed. I'm guessing that probably had a little bit to do with why they aren't doing any Star Wars stuff, because all the backlash they were getting. They're probably like, geez, after all the crap we're catching, we don't need to bring somebody else on that's catching a bunch of crap right now. So,
but you know what? It's so funny because they left and rushed Game of Thrones to do their Star Wars.
Exactly. And, that ultimately killed their whole Star Wars deal. But yeah.
Destroy two for the price of one.
Yep, exactly. And so, yeah, the first Jedi thing, this idea has been going around for a long time, even before they were even involved. There was somebody else, some other famous director. I can't remember who it was, but I've heard about this since before they were ever even involved in the project. Then James Mangold comes out and says he's going to tell a story, that he went to Kathy about this idea. I'm like, what are you talking about? The idea's already been going around for years. So, Mangold, what are you talking about? I guarantee you, Kathy was like, oh, we got this idea of the first Jedi. That would be a good project for you to do if you do this indie film. The next thing could be the Star Wars project for you. And his Star Wars project ain't happening now after how the things went with Indiana Jones. So I don't know. I'm guessing at some point in time somebody will make this piece of crap film. I mean, you have to understand Star Wars. Some things are just better left to the imagination. We don't need an explanation for everything. We don't need to know the origins of everything. Just tell a different story, or in a good one, but they're incapable of even doing that. So how is anybody going to expect them to actually tell a good story about the origins of everything, Star Wars? Fuck Disney Star Wars.
Culture.
I don't know that I could add much. These guys are garbage. They're beyond has-beens, and I am hoping they get very little work going forward. And I imagine that their three-body problem is about to fail, and that will land them exactly where they need to be for what they did to Game of Thrones.
Are they the ones doing that? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
let's just hope that
thing
they
even
have
happened.
stuck extremely close to the source material. Because remember, you'd never think that these hacks could do Game of Thrones, but they actually did fairly okay with that as long as they stuck close to the book. The only problem they had was when the book started getting complicated and they focused on the wrong storylines. I have never read the three-body problem, but if, like Game of Thrones, that's fairly straightforward, they actually could do okay with that, provided they don't
Hmm.
take any artistic liberty. Because the moment they try to put their own voice in there, that's when it's going to go to hell.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything to add. I just think terrible
Yep.
and hilarious all at the same time, quite frankly.
You know, if they hadn't rushed Game of Thrones, if they hadn't rushed the ending of Game of Thrones and actually, you know, sourced out some kind of honest story conclusion that would have fallen in line with the rest of the story, I think I'd be having a very different reaction, or would have had a very different reaction, and so would Disney about them taking a Star Wars trilogy. But
Oh,
whether
sure.
or not they would have played ball and done, you know, what they were required to do is an entirely other conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Dear oh dear. Dear oh dear.
And honestly, and this is true because Sundowner said it in the chat, they could have done Game of Thrones for another 3 to 5 years. They really could have made it
Easy.
10
Oh
seasons.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Everyone wanted them to.
that's not missed by anybody, I don't think.
I mean, how jacked up is it that you spend season upon season upon season of buildup to the White Walkers and stuff, that
boom,
whole
done.
thing, and then boom, one episode, the whole thing's just over and done with, just like
Boom,
that, just
cancelled.
wrapped up. You know, that moment right
Ridiculous.
there was their boom, canceled moment, because like
And rightfully so,
the
I might add.
payoff, there was no payoff. It was just like this whole buildup is just like boom, over, done with. They're all gone. Like what? That was it.
That was Snoke before Snoke.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, totally.
And ridiculous. It started the ridiculous subversion.